Talk about killing the goose that lays the golden egg. The way Attawapiskat has been treating that neighboring diamond mine makes me furious. Well, joining me now in studio is Tom Ormsby, a spokesman for the De Beers Diamond Mine Company. He's been on the show before. Tom, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Now, you've been to court so many times. Your business is diamond mining, but it's almost like you're a lawyer in training. You were in court in Timmins on Friday trying to get this damn ice blockade moving. What happened on Friday?
Well, Friday the judge had two main purposes there. The original purpose was to hear from those who were named in the original injunction. So
the
there were 5
blockaders.
specific people on the blockade. Yeah. And then also to get an update from the OPP and NAPS as to their progress.
And NAPS, that's the Indian police force that has
jurisdiction. Police Service, yes, for Northern Ontario. And so we were there Friday, and the judge heard from those that wanted to speak as they were named. Chief Spence also made a statement. She was in court on Friday, and she was permitted to make a statement even though she wasn't named.
What did she say?
Well, she thought that it was important for her to speak because she said Chief and Counsel can't endorse the activities of the blockaders, but she also said that she understands that it's something that people in her community do when they have frustration on certain issues, and they do resort to a blockade. They've done it actually inside the community to the Chief and Counsel on occasion as well.
Now, how about the actual blockaders? Did any of them show up, or did they join by telephone?
Everyone except two. Two had declared themselves as no longer participating in the blockade, so they were not in court. And so there were 3 others who were named who were there, and they all had a chance to speak to the judge.
And what did they say?
Well, it was a mixture of things. Most of it was around larger issues about IBA-related.
That's the impact benefit agreement. That's the money that you guys pay in contracts and directly to the
in
trust
compensation for being able to build and operate a mine.
And what did the judge say to this?
Well, the judge, again, receives the submissions, and this is not as evidence.
Right.
These are things that just come in so the judge can make his ruling and
it's
have
a little
as much information.
loosey-goosey.
Well, it's for him to certainly get an idea of the tone.
Yeah.
And so what they did is they spoke about what their concerns were. He said, I hear your concerns, but if they're anything IBA related, there are processes available to you. Yeah. I'm here to hear about your actions on the blockade, and his instructions were that
was the judge clear that in a first world country like Canada, where we have rule of law, that you cannot simply break the law because you want an extra buck or two? Was the judge clear, or did he go wobbly? Did he start to say, well, you're from Northern Ontario and you're Aboriginal?
Well, this judge is from Northern Ontario himself, and he was very clear that this was an illegal act. And he said that with the issuing of the extension of the injunction, which now an interlocutory, I believe, is the legal word they used, it means it's going to continue. This injunction is going to continue.
For 3 years, is that right?
Well, until any recovery we may pursue in court at a later date.
So this is a permanent court order now?
Until a court case comes forward on any kind of claim for damages.
Now, what did the OPP say? Because actually, to me, that's the bigger problem. Some rabble that block the road, they're rabble. But the OPP, they are charged with the duty of upholding the law. And for weeks now, they did nothing. Even though the bosses of the OPP and this Indian police force called NAPS, they were particularly named 10 days ago. What did the OPP have to say for themselves?
Well, the lawyer representing the OPP, he's the one that spoke, and he said it was very clear the OPP would carry out the instructions as the judge required, and they understood their instructions as the judge had outlined for him. So there was no wobbling by the OPP. They were going to execute whatever the order.
How long did it take from the first time the order came down till when police cars started to move?
My understanding is the police car started to move at some point, I believe, on Saturday, but I'd have to check. But
so that's what, 8 days, eh? Yeah. It took 8 days to drum their fingers on the desk. How much money did De Beers lose in those 8 days while the OPP just checked out the Tim Hortons?
Well, we're still doing the total. There's certainly a substantial standby fees on a daily basis. So
give me an estimate. Last time your road was blocked, it cost you $3.5 million. How long was that block? Was that back in 2009?
It was about 18 days back in 2009.
Do you think it'll be around the same amount this year?
Possibly. Maybe? We'll have to see. Hopefully we're more cost efficient.
Now, look, here's the thing. You can't move. You can't move that money. You sunk $1 billion there. You can't find new neighbors. So I know you've got to bite your tongue. You've got to be the more diplomatic one because you're the one held hostage. You can't fight tit for tat. You can't break the law and fight back the same way you've been fought against. But one thing you can do is think ahead. Now, you've got other diamond exploration in the area.
We do, yes.
Has this treatment by the Attawapiskat band of your mine and the slow poke response by the OPP, has this made De Beers reconsider whether it wants to plunk another $1 billion down and another $1 billion? Has this caused some thinking in the senior executives in the company saying maybe Canada's rule of law is a little more like Kazakhstan and a little bit less like the United States?
Well, those decisions will be made higher than my position in the company. Right now, obviously, our priority is to get the road moving. But we are trying to do the extension work available in Canada. We see it as a growth area for us.
So what would that mean? An extension, that's another way of saying
Extend the life of the mine. Extend the life of the mine.
So you're prospecting, you're looking around.
We have previously identified targets already.
If things work out well, and if you make the decision to go ahead, how many more millions or billions do you think De Beers might invest in Canada if everything went well?
Well, for the Victor pipes in particular, I mean, we've already got the infrastructure there, so the investment would still be substantial because we would be mining in an area maybe 3, 4, 5 kilometers away. So it's still going to be in the millions, tens of millions, maybe $100 million. I'm guessing on those numbers, but it will be substantial investment to extend this life of this mine.
Yeah. You know, it's frustrating to me, and I'm not even involved. I mean, I live in Toronto. You block my office here, the cops will move you in minutes, not weeks. Last thought to you, you've got 100 people from Attawapiskat working in the mine. You've got 100 other Indians working in the mine. So you actually represent as many Indians as Teresa Spence, I put it to you. What have the Indians working in your mine had to say to you? What are the Indians you hire to keep this ice road open? What about the families that you put bread on their table? What have they said to you privately about the way you have been manhandled by this mob?
Well, we were very, very supported by our First Nation employees.
Give me an example, an anecdote of what someone might have told you.
Well, there were many who, for example, got into discussions with those in the community. You know, whether through social media or personal messages, or going in during their time off and saying, look, we work here. This is our livelihood. And having those discussions without any prompting from us. And we got a lot of support from people who are on our force, sending emails and saying, look, guys, this is you're doing the right thing here. We want to see this work. And we've actually had some very strong support across Canada. I've had, because of appearing on your show and others, I've had emails saying, you guys are doing the right thing. You're sticking to a principle here, and good luck with it. So, but the employees themselves have really held together, and they've held the high ground.
I hope that one of those Indians who works in your mine, who's put food on the table because of his work at De Beers, runs to be the chief of the Attawapiskat First Nation and kicks out that bum that's running there. And I'm not going to ask you to comment on that, Tom, because you've got to be a good neighbor. But as far as I'm concerned, you've been manhandled, and we need a remedy. Thanks for being on this show.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.